Call to order the Board of Zoning Appeals. Will you please stand for the pledge? Silence. Thank you. Call a roll, please.
Mike Curtis.
Here.
Amber Brown.
Here.
Here. Here.
Renee Curtis.
Here.
Patrick Hill.
Here.
Zane Cantrell.
Present.
We have a quorum.
You have the minutes of the last meeting before you. Are there any changes or additions to this?
Move be approved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to be approved.
Second.
Second. Call a roll, please.
Mike Curtis.
Yes.
Amber Brown.
Yes.
Gary Sartain.
Yes.
Gary Farley.
Yes.
Renee Curtis.
Yes.
Patrick Hill.
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Minutes are approved. And looking at your agenda, the Michael Smith will be the fourth item on the agenda, so make that note. Let me welcome all of you here this evening. We have a long agenda, and we're pretty well familiar with all of the requests that are coming before us. So we do have a 3-minute time limit when you come up here to make your presentation. We ask you to try to stay within that time limit. That way we'll be able to make this move in an orderly manner. The first item is a request by Kari Leeks, who is requesting a variance for a setback requirement. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2024-35 involves the property at 7200 Cloverdale Way. It's a request for variance relief of 1 foot from the 5-foot side yard setback requirement for a detached accessory structure upon a property located in the RM medium density residential zoning district. This is a 0.35 acre parcel, and this structure was already constructed. The applicant had entered a contract with a contractor and was of the understanding, it was explicitly stated in the contract that the contractor would obtain all the required permits and inspections. And the applicant was under the impression that the contractor had fulfilled those requirements of the permit and contract. However, they were notified by the codes department that a final inspection of the structure had not been performed. So the structure was placed on the property in 2023. A permit was obtained, but they never obtained the final inspection. It was in September that the applicant was notified by building codes that the final inspection had not been performed. And the applicant at that time tried to contact the contractor, and they became unresponsive. So in addition to the setback, we required them to prepare a plot plan. They needed an elevation certificate because they were in a special flood zone area. And in doing that, the surveyor noted that the structure was within 4 feet from the property line and not the 5 foot that's required for detached accessory structures. And so at that time, the applicant was advised to apply for variance. And The applicant has submitted copies of the contracts that they entered in with the contractor, and also letters were passed out to you. There was a couple on the front and back of a page in support of the applicant's request. I believe we may have received one informational call, but no one had indicated being opposed to the request. And we're using a different format tonight for the presentations, but this is the home that's located on the site at 7200 Cloverdale Way, surrounding properties. And then I think this next photo, you will see the structure in question, and it's at the end of the driveway. And this is the survey that was prepared by Mr. Elkins of Elkins Surveying, showing the shop's location 4 feet off of the property line. So Ms. Leeks is requesting only a 1-foot variance, and we do find that it is the minimum variance granted to make possible the reasonable use of the structure, and that it would not be injurious to the surrounding neighbors. And that concludes our presentation.
Any questions of our staff? Mike?
This is, Mark, you picked a bad day to be here. It's a question on the permitting process and why this wasn't discovered earlier on in the permitting process, like when the foundation was laid. I was just curious.
Well, if I remember right, and I think Ms. Leeks may have gotten their permit, but then hired the contractor, but no one called for a slab inspection or anything.
So no inspections whatsoever?
We didn't get any
Okay.
inspections.
Well,
no,
that
not
explains why it
whatsoever.
wasn't caught. Thank you.
Mark, so you're saying it was a homeowner's permit, then she hired a contractor after the permit was taken out, the original permit?
I believe that she took out the permit and hired the contractor, but I can't swear by that. I'd have to double check, but I think she took it out and hired the contractor, and then he was supposed to get all the inspections done according to her contract with him, the way I understand it,
Okay.
Danielle, the letter we have from Chris Ellis, is he the same, I'm assuming he's the same Ellis that's listed next door on the survey?
I did not verify the addresses of the persons who submitted the letter, but I imagine the applicant would be able to answer both of the questions that you've had.
Thank you.
We have anyone here representing this request? Would you come around to the podium, please? Just give us your name and any additional information you want to share about it.
My name's Kari Leeks, and I am the owner of 7200 Cloverdale Way. The initial permit for the building was obtained after the contractor. So the contractor was hired through Watson Metal. That's where we got the supplies. And this is a common contractor that they use. And when the contractor came on site to begin the project, he contacted the codes to get the initial permit. If you look at the initial permit in the system, it's actually under his name, so not under our name.
So basically, the contractor that you hired did not follow the contract that you had,
Sure.
and did not get the appropriate inspections that was required in the contract.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want to give you some advice. Have you contacted the Department of Commerce and Insurance for the Contractors Board?
Oh, no, sir.
You can file a complaint on the contractor.
Yeah, I did not know that. I appreciate
Yes.
that. But yes, that's what, whenever I came up here initially, trying to find out how to resolve the situation, I spoke to the people at the codes department. They were very kind, and they recommended leaving the initial permit in his name. That way we would be able to show that he started the project. And just to be transparent, this was our first time building anything. So we assumed part of the contract that he would take care of it. So it wasn't until a couple months ago that we realized it hadn't been done.
Yeah.
So, but absolutely, we will do that. And we did try to reach out to him several times, called him, spoke to him on the phone, and then he would not call me back. And then I tried texting him also, and he would not text me back.
If I were you, that's what I'd do.
Absolutely, for sure. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. You may be seated.
Can I address the second question really quick?
Excuse me.
I'm so sorry. So the Chris Ellis, he is the neighbor adjacent to where the building is. So the 2 letters that we received were for our neighbors on both sides of the property line. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the request with the conditions set forth by the
Second.
Planning Department.
Have a second.
I second.
Call a roll, please.
Mike Curtis,
Yes.
Amber Brown,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Renee Curtis,
Yes.
Patrick Hill,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. The next item of business is a request by Ricky and Jamie Parker, who is requesting a variance for the square footage. Is that correct?
That is correct. Application 2024-36 involves the property located at 229 Applewood Lane, and it's a request for variance relief to allow an additional 720 square feet to the 2,000 square foot size limitation for detached accessory structures on a property less than 1 acre in the RM zone. And this is the property in question. There was actually a structure on the property that was destroyed by fire, and the applicant would like to rebuild in that location. However, when they came in to apply for the zoning compliance certificate, it was discovered that they wanted to increase the size of that structure. They want to have a 1,600 square foot structure with 2 14 by 40, which 560 square feet each, sheds on the side, open sheds. And so that would result in the structure measuring 2,720 square feet, which is 720 square feet more than what's allowed. Properties 1 acre or less are allowed up to 2,000 square feet of detached accessory structure area. Let's see. This is a photo of the existing home and the surrounding neighborhood. And we did not receive maybe one informational call. No one indicated that they were opposed to the request. It is self-created, doesn't meet all of the criteria for variance approval. And however, we find that it's not financially motivated. They're not going to impact surrounding neighbors. In fact, although this is irrelevant to this particular case, the structure that was there was also the recipient of a variance many years ago for size. But we've since modified, and this is well before my time, we've modified the amount of square footage that one can have on their property for detached accessory structures. And that concludes our presentation.
Question of the staff.
I've got one of Danielle. What would be the square footage allowed if this property was 1 acre or more?
Okay, so 1 acre, up to 1 acre, it's 2,000 square feet. More than 1 acre would be 5% of the total lot area.
Okay, thank you.
Any other? We have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please. Just give us your name and any additional information you want to share.
Parker, my wife Jamie, we live at 229 Applewood. January 10th of this year, we had a fire which did burn a 30 by 40 garage. I won't get into all that. The variance that they mentioned before, at the time when we built it, we were allowed to have 1,000 square feet, and the variance was to make it a 30 by 40, 200 additional feet. We have went around and basically I know they had our neighborhood pulled up. Basically, all the neighbors that can see our garage and all the neighbors that would be passing our property, we went to just about all of those houses, and no one complained. We got signatures from over 30 people saying they had no problem with it. Summertown Metals is who we have discussed about building this, so it would be a good contractor, and we've looked at a structure similar to this as well, and that's what we're trying to replace.
Just real quick, just to confirm, the structure burnt down and you're just looking to replace that structure, and it's going to be a little bit larger than the original structure, correct?
The lean-tos, the way it's made, you've got a 40 by 40 structure in the middle with lean-tos on the side. The lean-tos are what makes it over the size. One side we're going to use just for swings and lighting, and the other side I might park like a car trailer or something under it.
Is it going to be of what type of construction that will kind of blend with your neighborhood?
It'll be similar to both of our neighbors, with property touching ours, have structures that are like that, pole barn type. One is actually a pole barn, the other one is a metal frame structure that's behind us. They are some of the signatures that had no problem with the property.
Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion on it.
I'd like to make a motion to approve as written.
Second.
Motion?
Second.
Second. Amber?
Mr. Chairman, if I could just add a point of discussion on this, is that I did some quick calculations, and their property would only need to be 0.31 acres more to be able to hold this piece of property within the current rules of the zoning resolution. So they're already close to the size that they would need, but they're not quite there. So just a point of note.
Thank you. Any other comments? Call a roll, please.
Mike Curtis,
Yes.
Amber Brown,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Renee Curtis, Patrick Hill,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Next item we have is a request by Wendel Miller, who is requesting a special exemption for an accessory structure. And what do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2024-37 involves the property located at 2532 River Road. It's a request for special exception approval for an accessory dwelling unit that does not meet the design standards for ADUs in the RM zone. And the reason that this application is coming before you is because they are less than 1 acre. The site actually measures about 0.70. And the applicant is, as you'll see, there's no additional site plan. They are actually converting the existing basement into an accessory dwelling unit, and they've obtained the approvals from TDEC, and they would just like to obtain a permit to create that second dwelling unit that includes a bathroom and a kitchen in the basement. So there will be no exterior changes to the site. We did post a sign on the property and had some informational calls. No one indicated opposition to the request. This is the structure in question, and the applicant indicates that this is for a family member, and the basement will measure 730 square feet, or does measure the structure itself, or the building that's being converted. And surrounding properties. And we find that the request meets the criteria for accessory dwelling units.
Do we have anyone here representing this request? Will you come around, please? Give us your name and any additional information.
I'm Wendell Miller, and I own the property at 2532 River Road, and also own the property at 2520 River Road. And last year, my neighbor for 10 years passed away, and that's the subject property here. And basically, I bought the house at auction to, number one, to protect the value of my house, and don't really know what we're going to do with it other than it's always some family member or somebody that needs a place and this and that, and so we're fixing it up. I wish I'd got it painted before you come out and took pictures of it, but the winter got here on us, so we didn't. When I bought it and started working on the inside before I did, I went to the permit office about getting a permit for, the work that we needed to do on it. And they told me, says, well, if you're not adding any footprint to it, you don't need a permit. I said, oh, okay. And so I proceeded with the house was built in 1978, and it looked like 1978. Poor Mr. Jameson, he just didn't spend no money on anything. But anyway, and so I was converting the heating and air unit from electric to gas. And I think when Mark came out and inspected, number one, we decided to put a kitchen and a bathroom downstairs because it's a basement house and it's a walkout basement at the bottom. And so it said, well, it makes a lot of sense, just kind of put a kitchen down here and a recreation area. I wanted to add some square footage to the house, and lo and behold, Mark calls me up and says, hey, you got an ADU. I said, what's an ADU? So here we go. And so, anyway, that's basically what we're trying to do on it. And
Any questions? Thank you. You may be seated. Open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the request.
Second.
Got a second. Any further discussion? Call roll.
Mike Curtis,
Yes.
Amber Brown,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Renee Curtis, Patrick Hale,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Next item is a request by Michael Smith, who is requesting a special exemption for an accessory dwelling. What do you have on that, please?
Okay, let me advance. Item. Thank you. Application 2024-40 is a request for 1123 you can Lila Drive. It's a request for special exception approval for an accessory dwelling unit that does not meet the design standards for ADUs involving a property located in the RM zone. And it's a .36 acre parcel, so it automatically has to obtain special exception approval for an accessory dwelling unit. The property is located in a Forest Ridge subdivision. The applicant would like to construct a detached two-car garage with an attached living area that will include a bathroom and kitchen. The proposed garage and ADU will measure a total of 1,123 square feet, and however, the ADU portion of that structure will only measure 582 square feet. The purpose of the ADU will allow the applicant to provide housing for a family member who is unable to take care of themselves. And so the property itself is served by a step system, and as you probably learned last month, we are going to, and a CUD has indicated that anyone who would like to tie an additional dwelling unit into that step system, they will need to, the applicant will need to reach out to CUD and make sure that the capacity exists and what the design requirements will be to tie into that step system. And so Jason from Consolidated Utility reached out, and I have notified the applicant's contractor of that requirement. This is the surrounding area. The structure itself will be located where an above-ground pool used to be located or is located now. It will replace that, and it's located at the end of the driveway, and I'm advancing. These are photos of the surrounding area. We did receive some calls. They had some questions about the materials and the elevations, and I believe that this community is regulated by an architectural review board, though we have no control or power over that. It's separate from the county. We don't enforce covenants and restrictions, and so the applicant's aware that they'll need to reach out to the architectural review board. And took a lot of photos, but this is the floor plan of the structure. You'll see the garage. The garage will be located at the end of the driveway, and the living unit located towards the back. The applicant plans to use looks like we're missing a page. The applicant plans to use the same building materials that is used for the principal dwelling. Here's some elevations. And as you'll see, all of the elevations and the structure itself will be designed to match other structures in the primary residence on the property. And we find that the request meets the criteria for accessory dwelling units. And that concludes our portion of the presentation.
Any questions of the staff? Have anyone here representing this request? Come around, please. Give us your name and any additional.
Robin York, general contractor, RJ York Homes. I've been building homes in the Middle Tennessee area for about 40 years, and my son-in-law, who's my superintendent, and Mr. and Mike Smith are best friends, so I'm venturing over here to Murfreesboro, but I think we're within the guidelines on everything, and we'll be happy to comply with anything that I think we're well within the guidelines. Architecture review and the CUD, certainly we'll work that out, I hope. So, beg your permission to move ahead.
Any questions? Thank you, sir. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who would like to speak on this request. If you'll come around at this time. Close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Have a second. Call the roll, please.
Mike Curtis,
Yes.
Amber Brown,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Renee Curtis,
Yes.
Patrick Hell,
Yes.
and Zane Cantrell.
Yes.
Yes. Getting
Next
there.
item we have is a request by Christina and Mina Maximos, who is requesting a major home business, and this is a automobile or auto repair shop. What do you have on that, please?
I'll get to that really quick. Sorry, it's a PDF instead of a presentation. I don't know if I would advance any quicker in PowerPoint, so. Okay. Thank you. Application 2024-38 involves the property at 8146 Misty Lane. It's a request for special exception approval for the establishment of a major home-based business involving auto repair upon a property located in the RM zone. And this request is the result of code enforcement actions. The applicant has made application to bring the property into compliance. The applicant indicates that most of the work performed is off-site, though there may be the situations where a car is brought on-site and worked on. The services performed on-site will include diagnosing major vehicle issues, gathering vehicle parts, and preparing them to take to the customer, cleaning care, and other minor repair work. The applicant proposes to park approximately 10 to 15 business vehicles consisting of only passenger vehicles on site. No signage is proposed. The proposed days for the operation are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. There will be 1 to 2 employees. No signage will be installed, and we did receive several phone calls regarding this request, some informational. One call indicated that they were not opposed to the request, but they were concerned with the size of the vehicles, the car haulers that were coming in and out of the property. We also received another call that had some concerns with the traffic, and I passed out a letter to each of you from that neighbor, and they've also supplied some pictures that we can look at later. I don't know if that neighbor's going to speak, but they were opposed to the request. Now, the nature of the request, we've seen several auto repairs, so we know each one is extremely different from the other. This is a 5.10 acre property. It's located at the end of a cul-de-sac. And these are photos of the existing site and where we posted the zoning hearing sign. And this is an adjacent neighbor. It's surrounding properties. And then I'm trying to get to the area where cars enter in. So this is the gate. There are 2 homes that are accessed beyond this gate. One is the neighbor and then the applicant's home. Now, when we went out to the site looked pretty orderly. However, the reason that we are here is because there were complaints about the appearance of the property and the number of cars that were on the property. And the applicant has been made aware of all the conditions for major home-based businesses. It looks like they'll try and come into compliance with the exception that they would like to have 10 to 15 cars stored on site, which exceeds the amount that's allowed for major home-based businesses. And that it fails to meet all of the criteria for major home-based businesses, but if they're able to come into compliance and meet those conditions, it could result in not affecting the surrounding neighbors, but we've already heard from some and they have been impacted. So that concludes our presentation.
Any questions of the staff?
Danielle, they mentioned that in one of the letters about car haulers bringing in truckloads of cars. Is these like the big commercial car haulers, or are they slant
Yes.
beds, or?
Yes, the person who prepared the letters, and even all the callers indicated that there were car haulers that were coming onto the site and unloading vehicles. So they were concerned, even though they weren't opposed to the auto repair, they were concerned about the size of the vehicles. And there are photos that have been supplied of those car haulers. The applicant did submit some letters, and I apologize I didn't mention that, in support of their requests. And in your packets, there were also a couple that were sent out when the agenda packets went out. And so if you'd like to see, I can go ahead and advance, but if that neighbor chooses to speak, they'll be available for them to explain each of the photos to you.
Okay, I would like to add something to my question in the fact that under the general requirements for a special exception 2F, delivery vehicles used to deliver goods are limited to passenger vehicles, mail carriers, express carriers such as, but not limited to UPS, FedEx, DHL. Car haulers is not part of that.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Danielle, do you know what subdivision this is? just offhand?
Sycamore Grove? Oh, no, Sycamore Grove is this new subdivision being constructed behind this site. Their step system is actually abutting this property, but it's an older subdivision. I apologize, I don't know the name of it, so.
Any other questions? Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please. Just give us your names and any additional information you want to share. You heard some questions.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Christina Maximos, and this is my husband, Mina Maximos. We are a hardworking family with 2 young children, 1.5-year-old and a 9-month-old. Mina works as a mechanic. His previous shop closed, and then he also suffered a nerve injury in his shoulder. So he doesn't do much work, so we decided that while we have a lot of space, to work some of that work a little bit on site. We have over 5 acres. We have space, but we don't utilize the whole 5 acres. We put up privacy fence. We have vegetation, and we put a lot of money into laying down our property and investing in it. None of the cars are visible, as you can see from the photos. None of his work is visible as well. So yes, and this is our main source of income and livelihood for our family. We have a lot of letters of support from our neighbors on Misty Lane, Sunnyside Drive, and Sunset Circle. I'm not sure if you received those letters as well. I'm ready for any questions you have.
Have you all looked at maybe an alternative plan other than this, maybe somewhere where it's more commercialized?
So most of his work is off-site. And so some of the work that he does, I mean, for us, we don't have the resources to do that right now.
If it's off-site, why are you asking for 10 to 15 cars on-site?
That's just the max that we want, but we're willing to compromise with that. Sometimes the car parts don't come in, the car parts may take a little bit of time, so a car might be there, but it's not there for no longer than 3 to 5 days.
So if the car parts are coming in to this site, and you're taking, then you're moving everything off-site to work on?
Well, if it's something minor, then he'll fix it, and then he'll take it to his customer.
Any other questions?
Yes. So, home-based business, you're in a subdivision. It is something that your neighbors really don't even notice that it's there. How are you going to do that with 15 cars?
We're willing to compromise on that. It doesn't have to be.
How are you going to do that with 5 cars when you have wreckers and things dropping cars off? How are you going to conform to that requirement?
Yeah.
Because in a subdivision or something of that nature, this type of business is really, really hard to make disappear to where people don't really know it's there.
Yeah. So the wreckers, we're gonna stop doing that. The neighbors that complained, they didn't come up to us and let us know that the issues that they were having. So this is like the first time us doing this application and them calling codes on us. We had no idea prior to that.
Well, I'm not blaming your neighbors. I'm saying that those type of deliveries and whatever are intrusive and make your business not compatible with the residential neighborhood, which is what a home-based business is supposed to be.
Yeah, we're stopping the call haulers altogether. We're not doing that anymore.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this. You come around, please. Come on around.
Hi, I'm Sheila Creviston. The neighborhood is Sunnyside subdivision. My home is at 6225 Sunnyside Drive, which is right around the corner from the subject property. Sunnyside is a residential neighborhood. It has been there for many years, and it is surrounded by other single-family neighborhoods, residential, including Battlefield Meadows, Key Estates, Hooper Acres, Creekmont, and others like it. I have many concerns about having a major auto mechanics business within the neighborhood of Sunnyside. There is a strong potential for a decrease in property values for these reasons. The noise level of a major auto mechanic business. According to research, most residential limits for noise level in a residential neighborhood are 55 to 60 decibels. The average auto repair shop produces 80 to 95 decibels due to air saws, compressors, tire mounting machines, grinders, loading and offloading equipment, and more. This is 69% higher than normal residential limits for noise level. The increase in traffic by having commercial business within a residential community is another concern. I just want to note, I was out at the neighborhood for 3 hours on Saturday talking with neighbors. During that time, there were 2 commercial vehicles during that 3 hours that came upon the property there at 8146 Misty Lane. One was a U-Haul, one was a flatbed hauler with 2 vehicles in disrepair, and the vehicles were delivered on site, and there was traffic. There are no lanes painted on the road, so basically they were driving down the middle of the road while I was there. It's one way in, it's one way out in the neighborhood, which increases the traffic twofold. Obviously, they're going in, they're coming back out. It's a danger to neighborhood residents, their children, and their pets. Crime is a major concern. In a news article from 2023, it states that theft, vandalism, break-ins are just a few criminal concerns facing a major volume business, especially with those with valuable inventories. Auto garages are often top targets because of their vehicles, their parts, and their cash boxes located on the property. Such criminal activity has a potential to overflow into our homes, into our garages, our personal residences, our vehicles, our storage buildings that are located on the property. I've owned my home for 30 years in Sunnyside since March of 1994, and during that time I've spent thousands of dollars to maintain and improve the value of my home. Just this past year alone, I spent $10,000 replacing a new roof, doing some septic work, making some home improvements. Obviously, I don't want the neighborhood to depreciate in value as I continue to put money into my home to make it nice for the neighborhood. If and when I plan to sell my home, buyers will compare like homes to like neighborhoods.
You need to be finishing up.
Okay. All right. If the property located at 8146 Misty Lane is approved to operate a major home-based auto mechanics business within the neighborhood of Sunnyside, home buyers will consider the noise levels, the traffic, the potential crime, and if they choose to live elsewhere, that will depreciate the neighborhood values.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on forward, please.
Hello, my name's Janice Payton. I live at 8135 Sunset Circle. My property line backs up to the Maximos property line at an angle by about 10 feet. I've lived at 8135 Sunset Circle since April of 2022. In our neighborhood, there is already a car repair business. There's an HVAC company. We have 3 people that own tow trucks and do repossessions for cars. One is right beside me. I don't quite understand the negativity that they're getting trying to have a business to support their family. They've been doing this already for 3 years. Again, I work from home. I work for a major insurance company. I do litigation for them. I speak with insurance companies and attorneys all day long on the phone. I have never once heard any noise interference from their business. I've never had any problems with traffic, crime. I leave my door unlocked every night. I think the property value going down is baseless, and the only thing that I've ever heard from the Maximos property is their dogs barking at my dogs, and my dogs bark back. Multiple rental properties are in our subdivision with multiple home businesses. The only effect I feel like on home value would be the homeowners or landlords not keeping up their own property. That would affect their property value. It occurred to me when I heard the complaints from neighbors and from other people that, and I'm ashamed to say this, most of the complaints were from white people with white-owned businesses. The Maximos family are very hardworking. They're kind, they're generous, and honestly, having a car repair business behind me, I would like that because I know where my car is, and I know they're not going to overcharge me because I know where they live. I think as neighbors, we should support each other and lift each other up, watch each other's property, and have each other's backs. So I'm in 100% support of their business on the property. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Clark. I live at 6230 Sunnyside Drive. My backyard is adjacent to the Maximos. We have been there in that neighborhood since 1997. It was my parents' house, and then we took over the house in 2016. I have seen 2 generations of children grow up in that neighborhood. And I'm here to tell you right now, we're a community. We do not have a crime rate in that neighborhood. And as far as the Maximos are concerned, they're really good neighbors. They're always respectful. They're always willing to help people, and they do not make a bunch of noise. Yes, they have car haulers coming in and out, but they have never blocked my driveway. They've never caused traffic problems. So I agree with Janisa that was just up here. I am 100% behind the 2 of them in their home-based business. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Vicki Maynard, and I live at 8144 Misty Lane, which is also right down the road from theirs. On this particular road on Misty Lane, where they are so doing their business, that there's not but 6 houses on that whole road, 3 on our side and 3 on another side. And the call haulers do not block us. We don't hear anything. We're not worried about anything. I brought pictures to show that this house, actually the outside of it, looks much better than any house on the road, including mine. For their fixing it up, the fence, they've got it totally blocked off. Nobody sees any cars. They don't see anybody working. They don't know anything about what's going on at the end of that road. And we don't have any problem with them. We're all for them. And they need to be able to make a living just like everybody else. And
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else?
My name's Mark Carpenter. I'm at 8137 Misty Lane, and I actually live across the street, catty corner from the Maximoses. First off, Christina and Mina are fine people. They're actually wonderful people. And so when all this was coming down, they actually did go out and ask us, you know, our opinions on it and our thoughts. And, you know, nobody wants to complain on anything. And just like I appreciate the ones that are for it, I hope that they appreciate that I'm against it, because she's saying that they're not blocking their driveway, but the car haulers are blocking my driveway. And like Sheila said, that they can't be on one side of the road. They have to be in the middle of the road. I have had to wait for them to move, either getting the cars off or getting the cars back on, in order for me to get around and get off the driveway. I'm actually lease purchasing that house from Jay Balcom, and I went over there to remodel the inside of the house, and I liked it so much because of the quiet end of the driveway or the road, that I said, hey, how about if I just buy this from you? And he was like, okay, that's a deal. So that was one reason why I did, is because there was no traffic. I could have my grandkids over there riding their bicycles or tricycles up and down the road. You know, and like the one lady said, there is only 6 houses on that road. Mine, Pastor Paul's, the Maximoses, Ronnie's and his wife's, and then Johnny, our neighbor. And if I'm not mistaken, the Maximoses had just bought the house right across the street from us, so they're for it. But the people that moved in that house are real good friends with Johnny that lives next door. So now Johnny's for it and they're for it. But it is, the car haulers do take up the road, and it was at one time a quiet end of the driveway. They are correct that they have built fences up to see it, but they also have people come in to buy these cars too. They're not just a mechanic. They fix the cars up, then they come there and meet on Saturday, Friday nights, or whenever to actually sell these cars. And if I'm wrong, tell me, but I think that's also what's going on. And you know, it's not a quiet end of the road like these folks say. It is. I live right across the street from them, and I'd like for it to stay quiet if I can.
Thank you, sir.
And I got one more else thing. If y'all was to live on that road, would you vote it in then?
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
I just have a question for you. If we were to put stipulations in place to where they could not operate on Saturday, and only 2 cars on site, would you be okay with it?
I mean, I'm also like them. I'm okay for anybody to do anything on their property. It's their property.
Mm-hmm.
But I probably would not have said I want to live here if I'd have known that was in place. So, I mean, 2 cars, I don't know if they would go for that, but, I mean, if they would go for that, I mean, but
Thank you,
is
sir.
it going to stay for 2 cars?
Well, I mean, the issue for myself is safety, right? And being open on Saturday, and all these cars coming in and out to what could be considered a commercial business is a concern. Just thinking out loud.
Anyone else?
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Michelle Flores. I'm living in the front for the Maximos and Mina. So I proved that the neighbors is so really, really good. So I don't have problem for the business. That's the only way to say.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Paul Chisgar at 8133 Misty Lane, right across the street from the Maximos. And super nice people. I hate to say anything. I hate to complain. And if it was just their private property, just affected them, I'd be okay with it. But when it started affecting us, that's where I started having issues with it at first. I said, hey, it's their property. But it is, if it was just a home-based business where it's HVAC, lawn care, they're coming and going in the morning, afternoon, I'm all right with it. Man, it's just all day long typically. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I do know what's happened for over 2 years. They have to come on our gravel driveway to get to their driveway, so I know for sure what's going on there. There are people pulling down there often. There are cars coming and going. They're getting cars repaired, and they got to come check that car out. They got to test drive it. They're selling cars. Parts are being delivered often. Typically, the car's been involved in a wreck. They're fixing the car from that, and that comes in on rollbacks. That comes in on call haulers. Those call haulers are pulled by big dualies or pulled by semis sometimes. Sometimes they can't even back down those call haulers onto Misty Lane or Sunset, so they'll just park on Sunnyside Drive and unload right there and bring them down to the car there to their lot. There are times that our driveway is blocked, and we're all right with that every once in a while, with just an ongoing basis, And I hate to say anything because they are good people, and I don't want to fight my neighbors. But it is a major thing to myself and my wife and some of our neighbors. Some of them having no problem with it, but I wanted to be like that, but just after a while, it kind of got ridiculous, to be honest with you. So, and the safety, there are kids playing on the street. You got semis pulling a car hauler down. You got kids, they're playing like it's a residential area, which kids got a right to do it, but you got commercial traffic. It's just not a good combination. So with that, I'm asking that you just uphold, the zoning laws of Tennessee. And I hate to do that, but felt like I needed to for our property value and for the neighborhood. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Rather, good to have you with us. Mike was a longtime member of the BZA, so you know how we work here.
8 years, I think. I want to remind all of y'all that this started with not one, but 2 codes complaints. So the first code complaint, some things got rectified, but then they got called out again. I have visited this property. I'm concerned because it is in a dead end and signs, no trespassing and all that. And I thought, somebody gonna come out here and start shooting at me. And I also want to thank Jerry Sartain for saying what needed to be said, that a home-based business is a home-based business. It's not 5 acres of fixing up cars and car haulers coming in and out. That is a very short road, and it is totally residential. And I'm like some others that have spoken that, kids, not now because wintertime's too cold, but they're riding down the road and here comes a car hauler with 4 or 5 cars on it. And those roads are very narrow. And again, this is a codes enforcement issue that y'all have the opportunity to rectify and probably save some kid's life. And as importantly, save some parent from going to the hospital because their kid's in the hospital or worse. I don't want to go there. So my recommendation, y'all have to make your decisions. I respect that. I sat in that chair for a long time. You make your decisions. My recommendation is no. This is far beyond a typical, to the letter, a home-based business. It's far beyond that. That's all I have to say. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. It's always good to see you. Anyone else? I'll give you a couple of minutes if you need to clarify anything. No rebuttal.
Okay. So I just wanted to show you guys the whole picture. With him mentioning the 2 codes violations, those were submitted by my neighbor in front of us, and that's why we're here today, to rectify that situation. It wasn't like these 2 were, it's not like these were 2 over a period of 2-3 years. It was the same one by the same person over. So that's why we're here. When the codes came out, they did give us the option of, again, applying for a major home-based business. With the call haulers, I understand that's a major concern. I just wanted to see, I know this is a major objection, so I was wondering if there was a way we can overcome that objection.
Thank you very much. That's it.
The application says that you are for automotive repair. Do you also sell automobiles there?
Sold our personal cars I've had to upgrade, and he has a few small cars that he will change out. He doesn't have a dealership license or anything to be able to do that anyways.
Go ahead.
I guess my question is going to be for Mark for codes. 2 complaints. How did they rectify the first one? How did they rectify the first complaint?
How did you get your first?
There's been 2 complaints on.
First complaints that came from another inspector from Smyrna, I think, who've been getting complaints because they thought they were issued.
Oh, okay, but how did they? What was their plan to correct? What did they do to correct the after the complaint was made on the first one?
I'm not sure they were rectified.
They were not rectified. So then there was another complaint that's why we're here today.
Yeah, as far as I know, I don't think those were ever rectified,
So we were working with the codes officer, and that's why we submitted the application, because they gave us that option.
How long has it been since in between the 2 complaints?
Oh, I think one was submitted in July, but one went to Smyrna, and then they sent it out to Rutherford County because it wasn't their jurisdiction. And then the second one was I think it was a month between the 2. And I think what happened was whenever they called the first time, I guess they thought it didn't go through, and then they sent out a letter.
To clarify, Mr. Farley, they said, I got this just now, they said that they did not have a business. And then we found out, we got additional complaints that they did. So like I said, it really wasn't ever rectified.
So it was actually an untruth.
Yeah, apparently,
Okay, they didn't have a business.
No,
Yeah, apparently it wasn't ever, it said, they closed it at first because they moved the cars and said they didn't have a business, but then we got a complaint that they did have a business. So that's why, you can call it closed, but it really wasn't,
You may be seated, please. Public hearing is still open if anyone else wants to speak on this. Close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I want
This is probably a little bit more than just an auto repair when you have big trucks coming in and delivering automobiles. So if it's just, you're just going to repair cars, usually people will bring them to you. You don't have big semis pulling them in and pulling them out. So that's my take on this. I'll entertain a motion on it.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we deny the request based on this is going to negatively affect the neighborhood, and it does not meet the guidelines set forth in our regulations.
I will second that.
Got a second. And you're correct, it doesn't meet codes 1101 N2 and 4801 D2. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mike Curtis,
Yes.
Amber Brown. Oh, I'm sorry.
She's gone.
Oh, okay. Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Renee Curtis,
Yes.
Patrick Hell,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
The next item we have is a request by Gina Rone, who is requesting also a major home business. And this is a trucking business. What do you have on that, please?
Okay. Thank you. Application 2024-39 involves the property located at 4403 Rockdale Fellowship Road. It's a request for special exception approval for the establishment of a major home-based business involving a trucking business upon a property in the RM zone. And this is the site in question. Originally, it involved, this is a code enforcement issue that was brought. The option to apply for a home-based business was presented to the applicants to remedy the code enforcement violation. The activity was actually taking place on 2 parcels, but we're only considering they're going to consolidate the activities to the 4403 parcel, and that the son resides upon, and this is the parcel that we were taking into consideration tonight. So the applicant proposes to park 5 business vehicles on the 5.38 acre property. This will include lowboy trucks and trailers. Employees will report to the site, collect the truck, and return trucks at the end of the day. There may be up to 3 employees on site at the same time picking up trucks and dropping off trucks, but only during those times. No additional buildings are proposed, nor is any signage planned. Business activity will occur early in the AM, and returns will occur in the evenings, 7 days a week. This request is the result of a complaint to code enforcement. We have received calls in opposition and in favor of the request. Also, a couple petitions were passed out in opposition to the request to you. They were submitted to the office to be presented to you guys tonight. This is the primary residence on the property. There's actually another single wide on the property as well. So these are photos of the property. This is a photo across the street. Homes across the street. And then the site itself, they have some tractor trailers on the property, some trucks, and there's some also personal vehicles on the property as well. And these are just... So the applicant submitted the application originally for both parcels. They wanted to include both parcels. Once they were told that either you needed to combine the pieces to become one or reduce the activity on one, they live and reside on both parcels, but they've decided to go with the 4403 parcel. And so from my discussions with the applicant, all of the activity on the larger parcel would cease. And it would be this site that would be used for the business activities. We found that this has been an ongoing enforcement issue, from what I understand. Code enforcement is also presented some information that we could provide you tonight. It's going to be difficult for this type of use to meet the conditions for major home-based businesses, but with everyone who lives and works from their site, they're given this as an option to remedy code enforcement violations. That concludes our presentation.
Could we hear from Codes what he knows about this before we go further? Could you enlighten us on what's going on with codes regarding this application?
Case has been going on for a little while. The people seem to be very willing to work with us and get it squared away, but I think there's multiple parcels that this is spread across. So, you know, we're trying to see what they can do to get legal if they get approved by the board. But like I said, other than that, we haven't been able to get it squared away yet.
How long has it been going on?
2020.
2020?
Yeah, apparently 2020 is when our first complaint was. And I think, Mr. Farley, what happened, the previous zoning officer was working on it, retired, and somehow it fell under our radar a little bit, you know. And then when we got a complaint back, we realized what was going on and picked it back up.
All right. Okay, well, given that, how long has it been actively going on as far as after you picked it back up?
The last complaint we had from a neighbor was in May of this year, you know, and we haven't received a lot of complaints about it. Just it seems like, you know, maybe just like one complaint from a neighbor. So hasn't been. I guess what I'm saying hasn't been seemed to be a problem with the neighbors so far, you know.
Michael, Patrick, did you have anyone else? Don't want to overlook you guys over here in the right field. Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please. Give us your name and share any information about your proposal here.
My name's Jonathan Rone. I live at the 4403. I'm obviously mother and father's son. Our case did start in 2020. We moved there in 2019. My parents owned the property for a little while. The first complaint was where we lived. We had to live in a motorhome behind the house because the previous use was a drug house. It was manufacturing, using, and selling drugs from this house. We have the receipts and proof, pictures, blah, 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 of we having to strip the house inside because of the hazmat issue. So while that was being done, we did live in a motorhome behind the house. That was the initial complaint, from what I understand. When we moved over, we did have a couple trucks at the time and a couple of dozers that we used to excavate the property, try to clean it up a little bit from what it was, because grass was knee-high all the time with the previous owners, or previous tenants, I guess. So we had equipment there trying to renovate pretty much the property. I went and got police reports from 2015 till now. Oh yeah, I have it right here. There was, I think, 17 police calls from 2015 until 2021 right when we got there, something like that, 2019 or 2021. But there was, I think, 3 after we moved there. 2 of them were welfare checks. One of them was because my father got shot at in the front yard by a person driving by, we assume associated with the people that used to live there. But the police records from Rutherford County indicate there was 17 calls of whatever kind of thing to this property because of the tenants. So we've stopped all that when we've moved here. We're requesting, it says 5 on the application. I don't think that's correct. We're looking to have 12 to 15 trucks behind the woods. If you see on the picture there, we want it all. We're trying to get it all hidden, consolidated behind the woods. That's apparently the complaint that we know of. That There's trucks parked behind the house. It's not in front of the house. We never have anything in front of the front dwelling. The only thing that I know of in the code is that we have more than 2 vehicles, commercial vehicles, on the property. Again, like she said, the employees will get there in the morning to collect the truck. There's no commerce being done on the property. It's just to get the truck, take it to work the day, and park the truck at the house. That's all we're requesting. We have driveways wide enough to get the trucks in and out safely. If you have pictures of where we pull out, there is a clear line of sight both ways. So we do enter and exit safely. There is work that gets done in the evening. We're prepared to plant any kind of bushes or greenery to try to block that as much as we can if that's a complaint. And again, if we need to put up more bushes to hide what we have, that's fine. We can do that too. But honestly, we just need a place to park. The commercial property right now, as you probably know, is insanely expensive. So this is our best option. And let's see, we feel like that we've actually increased property value around where we live because we've cleaned it up so much. I can't do it right now, but I could provide you pictures of what it used to be. And we've had to renovate both houses that I live in and my parents live in. So our property value has only increased, safety's increased, quality's increased in the community. We're not hard to work with. We just need a place to park.
Let me see if I completely understand what you're doing out there. All you're going to do is store or bring your trucks in there and store them. You don't do any work. Your people come in, pick them up, and you go out to a site. Is that what?
So dump trucks, they work they go to a site to pick up, take dump, back and forth, and then they come home in the evening.
You've been doing this since 2020, is that right? Do you realize you have to be approved to be able to do this?
Now we do, yes. That's what we were notified of. So
are you you're dumping there?
No.
Okay.
No. Only to clean up the property if we needed to expand.
But you're not bringing anything in?
No.
And dumping?
We have, just because to either make parking space, but as far as work goes, no, we do not bring in things to dump and then.
So to answer the chairman's question is, all you're going to be doing is parking 12 vehicles.
Yes.
On site.
Yes.
And that's it.
That's it. Well, and I said also, we do some repair if tire needs to be changed, stuff like that. That's why I said about the greenery. If we need to try to put up a sound barrier, if that is a complaint of our neighbors, we're willing to do that. But there is a little bit of work that goes on after when they get in to check and make sure we're ready to go for the next morning.
But it's no major repairs?
No, sir.
It just...
I had a transmission put in. We took it to a shop. We don't do any craziness like that.
Minor maintenance work?
Minor maintenance work, yes, sir.
Okay.
Mike, go ahead.
The applicant here is Chad and Gina Rone.
Yes, that's my mother and father.
Okay, and they don't live on the property, you do?
They live on 4527, which is the
question. Do they live on the property?
No.
Yes or no?
Not on 4403.
I'm just trying to get facts here because, the property assessor's data has them living on Stewart's Ferry Pike. And how close is property to this that would be used for like big trucks and things like that? Is there other property nearby here that
Oh, in Rutherford
similarly?
County?
Either in Wilson or Rutherford County, it doesn't matter, since we're right near the county line.
There is down Couchville Pike. I know of one other property, but
About half a mile away.
I would say probably 2 miles.
Okay, all right. That's all for me. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Anyone else? Jerry?
Yeah, you know, it's been going on a long time, so I still don't quite understand how we get years into this and you still haven't brought your property into compliance. Doesn't matter what you've done, you still don't comply, and it's almost, to us, it appears you don't intend to comply. So what are you going to tell me to make me think that you're going to comply with anything we do here today?
Well, we're here now. The initial complaints were, well, one of the initial complaints were the RV.
Now, I'm not
but now
talking
there was
about
other.
2015. I'm talking about, you got 30 people here that's talking about all the property, the vehicles, and some of them haven't been moved for years.
Our personal vehicles, I do have a couple of personal vehicles that have not been moved, yes, sir.
Yeah, so I guess the evidence is overwhelming when you got 30 people, it's your own neighbors that's saying something's not going on. So I want to hear your side of it.
Okay. I wasn't aware, I guess I probably should have been with being a business owner, of there being a special exception. We, I guess, always thought that it was our property, and as long as everything was okay with the neighbors, because we've not, until the complaints were made known to us, I don't know about that, but the code complaint, we did not know there was an issue with a bunch of our neighbors. But now we're here to be in compliance because we realize that there's obviously an issue. Again, we're willing to do several things if that's what it takes to be able to park and be in compliance. So that's all I can tell you.
Did you say you own the property? You're the owner?
No, sir. My parents own the property.
To follow up on what Jerry just said, so it started in 2020, but you said you're here now. Why didn't you all do something from the start? I mean, I understand that somebody retired and from the county, and it kind of fell through the cracks, but you still knew that there was a problem there, and well, out of sight, out of mind.
Mm-hmm.
So you're here now. You're here now because somebody else complained again, and it brought it back up. But it's been going on for 4 years, right?
Correct. Yeah, we were made aware of the initial complaints
from the get-go.
No, not to my knowledge. No, we were made aware because we called the codes department to see what we needed to do. That's when we were given the information that this went back to 2020.
All right.
Yeah, Ms. Farley, can I clarify? Apparently, the earliest complaints that started like in 2020 had to do with campers and different things, and we weren't made aware of the business situation, that the business was being operated till this year. But the earlier violations, code started in 2020, but they weren't having to do with the business, the way I understand, and that's when they were notified about the business.
So that's why you're here now?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
that was business.
Okay.
There was like two different types of complaints, so I'm sorry, I need to clarify that.
Well, thank you for clarification. I stand
sir.
corrected.
Yeah.
Thank you. You may be seated. Let's open this. Yeah, go ahead and.
I'll be quick.
Okay.
As far as I know, we were made, I believe, aware of the address that was the complaint came from, and they're not here. So that's all I have.
Thank you. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone that would like to speak on this. We'll come around now at this time. Commissioner, is this in your district too?
I won't talk about that. Am I getting paid for this?
Okay.
All right, so their side of the road is Commissioner Oliver's district. The other side of the road is my district. And I've had one phone call today, and I probably had 6 after that. So it affects my constituents, but it's not in my district. So I can't make a recommendation. But I think the facts are the facts. You've got a whole list of people on a petition. So I'll defer to y'all. I'm just not comfortable making a recommendation on somebody else's district. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Anyone else? Close the public hearing. Okay, come on. Sorry. If you want to speak on this, move quickly, please. Because we're about to finish this up.
I'm Darrell Ryan. I live at 4444 Rockdale Fellowship, directly across from the property that's being asked for an exemption. This property was acquired in 2017. It's a little misleading. And at that time, I thought this was great. Somebody's coming in, they're going to fix up the property, and they did. They remodeled that house, and they did a wonderful job on it. But then, from then on, it went down. The picture you saw in there, all this stuff piled on the front porch of the house. What you didn't see were two trucks that were parked alongside the driveway that have never moved since 2017. They talked about, on this property, there's another mobile home down the street. There were 2 abandoned, no, not abandoned, there were 2 cars parked there that had never moved until this year when they finally rented that property out. I am opposed to this. What I'm seeing is that this is a back way of getting into running a business in a commercial environment. This is it's a neighborhood that's really nice, and it's all residential. And for somebody to come in and just start running a business and now say to do a home-based business, to me, is not correct. They say it's nice. We have, on your own paperwork, you say a glare, no business can create a glare, a dust, a noise, and what you don't have on here is bringing mud out. When you're bringing your vehicles out on a rainy day, you're bringing that mud out and putting it into the road, into the streets. This is not the way to run a business. And you have in front of you the signature of that many people that agree, and they don't want to see and do not believe that we need a commercial business in a residential area. And I hope you will see their way and my way and turn this down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Come around, please.
Questions?
Hi, I'm Gina Rone, and he's right. We didn't acquire that property till later, but 4527 we've had since 12. And we gave Donnie Robertson the rights to live there. And we ran out all of the drug people there in that community. We've been shot at, we've been cussed at. And I feel like we have added to this community, okay? And those 2 cars have been moved. Those were my kids' cars. And we've been complaining about it ourselves, and they decided to go on and get rid of them. The other 2, the truck was my husband's, and the other one is his grandfather's that passed away 2 years ago. So that's the only 2 old trucks that are still there. But the rest of it, we are trying to get compliant, and we want to be good neighbors. The one across the street that called in on us, we've hauled millings to that man to his new home up in McMinnville. Thought he was all great and everything, but no, he's the complainer. That's the one, 44 whatever. And I'm sorry that you've had an issue. We have millings down in on our property, so we don't bring out mud. We have done our best. We turn our lights off, y'all, whenever we pull out in the mornings so that the neighbors across the street don't see our headlights. My husband has got it. You do 5 miles an hour so that there is no dust made up in or thrown up just to appease y'all so that we can be neighborly. Okay, we're trying. And we've did you a favor getting them drug people out of there. If we'd have known that that was going on more, when we were going to church, is when and my kids saw it on Wednesday night, the police there at the house. Are you thankful that there's no more drug people there? They shot at my husband.
Ma'am, you need to calm down.
Yes, I know. It's just hurtful. It's hurtful because we have tried
All right.
to be good people.
Okay, we understand. Thank you. Next. Got two together. That's good. Come on up.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jackie Tiso. This is my husband, Gary. Our driveway is right alongside the Rone's driveway, and our property is all behind them. So we're butting up against where they want to park the trucks. We bought the property in December of '22, and we're on the property every day. My husband's retired. We see the trucks, and we see them in the morning, and we see them at the night. Sometimes sometimes they come long days, and he doesn't see them before, because they've come after him. I never see any mud. If there's any mud, actually, it's coming off of ours, because we're in the process of building our house, and we're very close to the end now. It's not off of them. They are phenomenal neighbors. Where they want to park the trucks is right on the other side of our property and where our house is, and we have no problem with it at all. We don't see any issues with it at all. As they said, they are very good neighbors, and they do the right thing in terms of the trucks and the property, and we can also attest that they are cleaning up the property. Every week, we see something moving off of the front part where we are up against our property's line and where they're moving it off. So we don't have any noise issues. We don't have any truck dirt, anything like that on the property. Anything you'd like to say before?
I don't see any difference. I have a pickup truck. I park my truck. They park their truck. Same difference. I know the trucks are bigger, but
And the other thing,
they're not doing anything on the property other than parking.
Rockdale Fellowship Road, I don't know if you guys are on it that often anymore, but that road has unbelievable traffic. And there are trucks coming off of that road going to connect to Couchville Pike and everything like that. There is such heavy traffic on that road. Sometimes we have a hard time coming off that road. And so it's not like it's a neighborhood residential, environment that you would normally see in a neighborhood. This is a major road. So I just wanted to add that as well. We believe they should be allowed to have this, that they will do what they're saying with the property and having it behind there so people won't see it and we do not hear any noise.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
My name's Terry Carrier. I live at 7190 North Lamar Road, around from the property. All I wanted to say is Wilson County and Rutherford County know that there's problems with traffic on that road, and there are posted signs, no semis, on either end at Couchville and then around the south along Weekly. So the signs are bright, they're reflective, because there have been issues with semis going off the road and hitting cable lines.
Thank you. Anyone else? Close the public hearing. Folks, some of these special exemptions that's been requested is for a major home-based business, major home base. Now, I would suggest that some of you might want to look into changing the zoning of that area, or when you have a major home business, especially one that is not legitimately looked at as being in a residential zone district. So that's a problem that I have with a lot of these major home businesses. You need to change what you can do out there, and you do that through a zoning change. And that's, in my opinion, is the best way to handle these kinds of requests. Now, I realize there are a whole lot of hoops that you have to jump through, as opposed, it's probably easier coming to the Board of Zoning and Appeal than it would be to go to the Planning Commission. But I think that would probably be an answer for many of these home-based or major home-based businesses that we're having to deal with. So you might want to keep that in mind. I've closed the public hearing, and I'll entertain a motion on this.
Chairman, based on the incompatibility with the residential neighborhood, with the large amount of semi-truck traffic that comes in and out of there that is evidently clearly marked, no semi-truck traffic, and safety on a narrow county road. I've been down that road numerous times. I know how narrow it is. And that I agree fully with the chairman in that this probably needs to be a rezoning request instead of a major home-based business. It's beyond the scope of a major home-based business. So with all that being said, I move that we deny.
And one other item that you might want to add on that, it fails to meet the general requirements.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Do I have a second to that? I'll second. Have a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Okay. All right, Mike Curtis,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Renee Curtis,
Yes.
Patrick Hale,
No.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. Thank you. That's the end of our discussions tonight, presentations. Appreciate everybody being here, and have a good evening. You are adjourned.